But just following the plan and going through the process, and we'll see what happens, folks. Looking forward, hopefully getting on stage at the end of the year.
All right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power, and I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. Now, first up in the news, and I thought this was pretty cool, Arnold Schwarzenegger's son, Joseph Bania, better known as Pro Joe on Instagram, and Sergio Oliva Jr. posted up a picture in Gold's Gym, Venice, training together. Now, it should be pretty obvious why I think this is cool, but if it's not obvious, Arnold Schwarzenegger, obviously, his main rival for a very long time was Sergio Oliva Sr. Now, both Arnold and Sergio had trained at that original Gold's Gym, and Arnold and Sergio were close in age, but Sergio was a little bit older. Keep in mind, Sergio had already won 3 Olympias before Arnold had ever won any. So Arnold was kind of the new kid on the block towards the tail end of Sergio's Olympia career. So, you know I love bodybuilding history. And in this photo, you get kind of a glimpse of the past, the present, and the future. We know that Arnold's son, Joseph, has announced that he wants to compete at some point in classic physique. And that's really what his goal is, training-wise. And very similar to the original Arnold and Sergio, Sergio Jr. is the more established bodybuilder. He's been an IFBB pro for a few years now. And, of course, he's getting ready for the 2020 Arnold Classic in Columbus, Ohio. But I thought it was cool to see this photo because right now Sergio is kind of the present, but he's also kind of a symbol of the past because of his father. And I think, you know, Joseph, kind of a symbol of the future, but also a symbol of the past because of his father. Because who knows, once Joseph starts competing, where he's going to be able to take that career in competitive bodybuilding or classic physique. And I know, like his father, he's also interested in acting. So who knows? But anyway, just wanted to start out this video with this photo. I thought it was a good, positive note to share with you guys. Now, next up in the news, yesterday we discussed Patrick Moore training with Phil Heath at 6 weeks out from the 2020 Arnold Classic. But I came across some videos of some different angles of that training session. Specifically of Patrick Moore, you get to see a better idea of how Patrick is looking. He hits his trademark front double bicep and also a back double bicep in these videos. And I think you get a much better idea of where Patrick's physique stands at this point in his prep with these kind of more revealing poses in this video. And one of the things I talked about in that video yesterday is that I think Patrick Moore has some underrated arms. I mean, I think he has some really impressive arms for an IFBB pro. After the Olympia, you know, a lot of people were talking about his conditioning. A lot of people were talking about his lines, his small waist. But I think a lot of people weren't really talking about how good his arms are. Specifically, his biceps in the front double bicep pose have a tremendous amount of fullness and roundness and a really good shape to him. I think Patrick has a lot of dangerous attributes with his physique, and I've seen a lot of comments saying Patrick needs to work on this, he needs to put on size, he needs to do this or that before he's successful. Keep in mind, Patrick is very early on in his pro career. What we're seeing right now with Patrick is a combination of potential and a really good physique right now. Let's not forget Patrick was top 10 at his first Olympia ever. Now, that doesn't mean he has to be ready to win the Olympia next year, but it also doesn't mean he's crap. It doesn't mean he has to work on everything. It means he obviously has something that the judges like, and he's obviously doing good so far, and he is a professional. I've seen people in the comments saying he's not big enough, he lacks too much size, but I feel like these are the same people where if they see a bubble gut on stage, they complain about that. You really can't have it both ways. There's only so big a bodybuilder can get and keep that small waist, keep the ability to hit a vacuum pose, keep that crazy conditioning, keep those good lines. And by no means is Patrick a small dude. So how much do you really want him to grow in order to sacrifice some of the really dangerous attributes of his physique, like that V-taper, the small waist, the vacuum pose, crazy conditioning? I'm just saying, something to think about. Personally, I think he's really good right now, but I see a lot of comments that are like, he would be really good if he fixed X, Y, and Z. I think he's pretty damn good now, but let me know what you guys think in the comment section below about Patrick Moore's physique. Do you think he needs to make improvements or not? Or where do you want to see him make improvements if you do think he needs to improve? Now, next up in the news, also speaking of small weights and vacuum poses in men's open bodybuilding, Rafael Brandao posted his most recent posing update, hitting a vacuum pose and a front double bicep and looking aesthetic as ever. One of the things that a lot of people like about Rafael is not so much the size that he has, but the aesthetic quality to his physique. He's always had a small waist. I don't know if I've seen him hit a vacuum pose before. This might be one of the first times I've actually seen it, but he's always had an aesthetic physique for a men's open bodybuilder. And he's always been a fan favorite, especially in Brazil. Now, I'm not entirely sure what his next show is. I know he's not doing the Arnold Classic in Ohio, and I know he's not doing the Arnold Classic in Australia. So maybe a show like the Arnold Classic South America, or maybe the New York Pro. But he does look like he's in pretty good shape, and probably at some point, he's at some point in a prep for something. Doesn't really look to be full-blown off-season here. But I'm definitely a fan of Rafael and his physique. He definitely brings something different to the men's open stage, and that's what I like to see. I like guys that bring a different package than what you typically expect. A lot of guys just really blow out their physiques and try to get as big as possible, and they come in looking like a big ball of muscle. And I think that's becoming a more and more common story in men's open, especially if you look at some of the amateur shows, the top-level amateur shows. A lot of these guys really have no good shapes, no good lines. They just come in big balls of muscle, but it doesn't look good. It doesn't look aesthetic, and their posing sucks. So it's good to see something like this in men's open bodybuilding, a vacuum pose, a small waist, and still a pleasing physique to look at. Now, next up in the news, a potential fight at the LA Fit Expo. I wasn't really too sure what was going on in this video. I had a couple people send it to me on Facebook, actually. But one of the people in this video is Julius Maddox, the current world record holder in the bench press. Some guy runs up to him, kicks the food out of his hands, and they have some sort of confrontation. Now, I wasn't entirely sure if this was staged or not, or if this was a skit. I don't know who the shorter guy was, the short, buff guy that runs up and kicks the food out of his hand. And in the video, obviously, they're in the expo hall, so you can't really hear what's going on. You can't really hear what they're saying to each other. But there's this confrontation. I thought it was kind of funny, whether it was staged or not. I don't think Julius Maddox looks like the type of guy that you want to start a problem with in the middle of an expo, or anywhere for that matter. I mean, look at him. The guy is an absolute monster. But if you do know what happened here, and you do know whether or not this was just a staged kind of a joke, let me know in the comment section below. Because if it was real, I am curious to know what would inspire somebody to want to confront Julius Maddox, because it seems like a death wish. Now, next up in the news, Shawn Rhoden's competition plans. Maybe the reason why a lot of you guys clicked this video. Now, I've seen people take this clip from a recent live stream that Shawn Rhoden did. Some people have been sending it to me. I've seen it uploaded on various channels on YouTube. Now, in this live stream clip, Shawn is talking about just going through the process, and then towards the end of the clip, he very briefly says, looking forward to stepping on stage at the end of the year. And I'll go ahead and roll that for you guys right now.
Just following the plan and going through the process, and we'll see what happened, folks. Looking forward, hopefully getting on stage at the end of the year.
So what we do know about Shawn is that obviously he wants to compete. I mean, he wanted to do the Arnold Classic 2020, but unfortunately for whatever reason was not allowed to. I mean, initially we thought there might be the possibility that he could do the 2019 Olympia or a show immediately after it in Italy, but that didn't pan out. It's still probably a major question as to whether or not he's going to be able to compete at the 2020 Olympia, but him saying that he wants to step on stage or getting ready to step on stage at the end of the year might suggest something closer to the end of the year, like Athleticon in October. And someone brought this up in my video yesterday. They're like, Nick talks a lot about Athleticon. I wonder if he's sponsored by them. No, I'm not. I just think it's going to be an exciting new show. I'm a bodybuilding reporter, and up until now, you know, really the two big shows that we have every year are the Arnold Classic and the Olympia. Those are the two shows where people want to talk about how bodybuilders are looking at 6 weeks out, looking at their prep photos, you know, talking about predictions and placings, talk about the results for like a couple days to a week afterwards. We really only have two big, exciting shows like that in bodybuilding, the lead up to the Arnold in the lead up to the Olympia. So to have a third one like Athleticon to look forward to, I think is really cool. But anyway, back to Shawn. So Shawn says in this live stream, competing at the end of the year, basically, or wants to compete at the end of the year when this process is over. So assuming, I think his case could be resolved by the end of 2020. I mean, this happened, back in August of 2019, or it became public at least around August. So October of 2020 would be over a year since these charges were filed. And I think there's a very good chance that between now and then, this case will be resolved, whether it's good or bad for Shawn Rhoden. And assuming it's good, immediately after would be the question, is he going to be allowed to compete? So say, hypothetically, if Shawn's case is resolved and he's found innocent, he's cleared of these charges, how quickly will the IFBB be willing to accept him back? How quickly will people want him at their shows? That's really the main question here, because we're looking at best case scenario. Because things seem kind of sticky for Shawn right now. Initially, it was just the Olympia that banned Shawn from competing, and first the IFBB kind of withheld making any statement. But then recently, these reports had came out that Shawn's pro card had been revoked, or for whatever reason, it had been denied, or he wasn't able to renew it for the 2020 season, whether he didn't pay his fees or his application was simply denied pending the outcome of this case. So it looks like Shawn's competitive career is entirely riding on the outcome of this case. So assuming a best case scenario, he's found innocent. The real question is, what does that mean for Shawn, and what does that mean in terms of the IFBB and the Olympia, how they're going to react to that? Are they going to immediately say, hey, okay, we were wrong, we're glad you're innocent, we want you back right away? Or are they going to wait a little while for things to quiet down and blow over and then say, okay, we want you back? That's the real question. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below about how Shawn's case will pan out, and assuming either outcome, how do you think the IFBB and the Olympia will respond in either situation? So that's going to wrap it up for today's video, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did enjoy it, please like this video. Subscribe to this channel if you have not subscribed already. You guys are awesome. I love you. Nick Strength and Power, signing out.